Hello, welcome to the Women and Money Fidelity International video series. My name is Stephanie Spicer. I'm from What Investment Magazine, and I'm talking with Emma-Lou Montgomery, who is Associate Director for Personal Investing at Fidelity International. Emma-Lou, hi.
Hi, Stephanie.
In the previous couple of interviews that we did, we talked about how we start with focusing on for women, how we tackle this issue of women not saving, not investing, just not accruing the kind of finances that they need or the pension pot that they need for retirement, and how they can start doing that, the issues that women have in terms of how they view investing, coming from cash into perhaps stocks and shares, getting a little bit more venturous and cumulatively growing money. But going to the issues that women have, there are particular hurdles. The pensions Policy Institute recently calculated that women in their 60s can have something like £100,000 in their savings pot. Why is there this lack of saving? What are the obstacles that women are facing?
Well, I think when it comes to pensions, there is this penalty we talk about, the good mother, the good wife, the good daughter penalty, where women, although there is things like shared child leave now, women do tend to still bear the brunt of that. So they will, obviously, if they're going to have a baby, they'll tend to take maternity leave, but they also tend to bear the brunt of the childcare as well, and often end up in either taking a career break completely or in part-time roles afterwards as well, which means that they might fall through things like auto-enrollment and that therefore not pay into a pension. But then they also tend to still do things like take career breaks later in life as well, or again, end up working part-time, looking after elderly parents or elderly relatives as well. So you do end up with a situation where the average woman, we found out, actually will tend to have in her pension pot 11% less than a man of exactly the same age, because of the fact that they've had these career breaks, or the fact that they've been earning part-time and just simply not paying as much into the pension and into other savings as well, indeed, as they should have been doing over the years. And obviously that gap becomes greater the longer that women actually don't pay into anything. And as our studies have shown, there's just too much of a tendency for women to actually tend to put their sort of financial security and their financial needs on the back burner, and then not realise until much later, and often too late in the day, unfortunately, to make any sort of real difference and give themselves the financial security that they need.
Now, you mentioned workplace pensions that even on lower incomes, WP is saying that more and more people are engaged in workplace pensions, and this is all helped by auto enrolment, where people are put in a pension scheme automatically and they have to opt out. They have to actively make the decision not to stay in there. So this is all helped, I guess, even if women are on slower salaries. But how do we stop them opting out again if they do have to take one of these breaks, or think, well, okay, my salary isn't as high as it was, so I'll stop for a bit. What's the boot to keep them in there?
Well, I think the boot, or the incentive, has to be to really look ahead to the long-term future security. You don't want to give up a pension. Any money that your employer is actually paying into a pension scheme for you, you want to grab that with both hands. That's effectively free money. That's on top of your salary. You might not be getting it today, but decades down the line, you're going to really thank yourself that you've got that money sitting in your pension pot. So definitely, even if money's tight, I think don't turn down the offer of money from your employer into your pension pot. And if you can, top it up as well. And if you can, get your employer to actually match any extra contributions you make as well. The tendency is to think you could do with that money now, but these are quite small sums that you can actually set aside now, but that over time will really grow into something decent. And pensions and SIPs are really the ideal place to save for the long term, because you have got that tax relief. So for every pound you're paying in there, you're having a 20% at least uptick in the money that's in there thanks to tax relief. So that's free money yet again that you really are saving for your, using to save for your future. So I think you've just got to sort of think long term. Even if money is tight now, and that's easy to say, it's harder to actually live with, I suppose, as well at the time. We've all been through periods where money is tight, and you really begrudge every sort of penny you've got, you don't want to put it away for the future, but every single penny that you can put away for the future will make such a difference. In a study we carried out as part of our Women and Money campaign initially, we found out that there is an 11% gap between the average man and woman's pot when it comes to state retirement age. But if a young woman can actually start paying an additional 1% a month into her pension, on an average salary, that's about £35 a month, that can actually bridge that gap. So, you know, we're not talking huge sums of money, but every extra £10 effectively you can pay into your pension will actually make a difference to your long-term financial security.
I mean, that sounds okay. £35 a month might seem a lot to some people, but it does sound such a ridiculously small amount, almost to the extent that it's such a silly amount to save. The fact that it will make such a difference is quite incredible. And if that's the incentive, no one could really argue that they couldn't do that. But if somebody doesn't have an option to go into a workplace pension scheme, what other options? Presumably they can do their own pension, but if they don't have the salary, but I guess they're not having workplace pension schemes, so they're not working at the moment, where else can the money come from? Are there things that, this is assuming if someone's taken a career break for looking after children, one assumes there's some sort of a partnership going on there in some manner or means. Are there ways in which couples, whether they're married, living together, even separate, they can divvy up the finances in some way so that there's a parity in pension provision?
Yeah, I think it's essential that couples actually sit down and talk about both of their financial security, because women tend to be very loath to do that. One study we carried out actually found out that women are more happy to talk about their love life than they would be to talk about their finances, which is, terrible, really, thinking about that, what the effect that will have on you financially longer term. So it's very important that couples do take both parties into account. So, if a woman takes a career break to have a baby or to look after an elderly relative, it's still possible, even if you're not earning a penny, to actually pay into a pension still. So your partner could actually pay in for you instead. And the point about the auto-enrollment as well is that, so many women will tend to have part-time roles, so they'll fall under that £10,000 threshold, which means they're automatically enrolled. But while that's unfortunate, there is something you can do. You can actually then pay into a SIPP yourself. So it's worthwhile setting up your own pension provision in that case, so that you're not being not catered for within a pension in later life. You're not going to get the sort of the benefit of paying in to your to your company pension gross, so it will come out of net pay, but you will get that tax relief paid in as well. So and if you're a higher rate taxpayer, you can actually claim back the additional sum as well through your self-assessment. So it is worth definitely making provision if it's not being done for you by your employer, and also making sure that even in times of career breaks or in times of lower earnings, you actually keep chipping away and actually putting at least something into your pension savings as well.
And perhaps justifying or arguing to yourself that, you are worth it. You may not be earning a salary because you're looking after the kids, the house, perhaps the elderly parents, but that is a job in some way. It should be remunerated in some way. So don't stint yourself on that. Say, well, this is my career at this time. I'm justified in putting that £35 at least away each month.
Yeah, absolutely. I think women have got to sit down in whatever relationship they're in as well and make sure that exactly like you say, that's still a worthwhile job that they're doing, and that they still need to be looking towards their financial futures as well, because you don't know what's around the corner. If you're relying on a partner's pension, if you're relying on partner savings, unfortunately relationships do end. It may be that you're not in the situation when you're 40, 50, 60 that you thought you were going to be in. So it's very important to think about that. And we, as women, I think we tend to sort of put ourselves at the bottom of the list when it comes to prioritizing our own needs and financial wealth and the rest of it. We tend to sort of like put money that we've got towards paying for our children or paying for their future, or just towards general family expenses. And it somehow feels selfish to actually be putting some money aside for yourself, but it's not. It's sort of very important that you're saving into a pension really throughout your life to make sure that, you are financially independent and you do have financial stability in the future.
And arguably, you're not helping yourself, because if you end up sort of impoverished in retirement, somebody else has got to look after you, or perhaps the kids that you've been looking after, they're going to worry about you. So if you've managed to look after yourself and them, it's a win-win situation.
Absolutely. I think, you know, one thing we've learned from life recently is you've really got to look after yourself. You can't expect the state to step in. No one's going to look after you. You've really got to look after number one. And women in particular, with so many, you know, potential career breaks, so many ups and downs, and the fact that your life really can take so many different paths, twists and turns, which, you know, you don't anticipate and you can't really plan for. Having that kind of financial stability ticking along the way means that you know that you've got some financial independence, you've got some financial support there, and you've actually looked after number one. Because you know, as they say, we're all worth it.
Emily, that's really helpful. Thanks very much. That's Emily Montgomery, Fidelity International. Thank you.